Open your mind like a Christmas gift. It's 89, the new school is needed. Original, see nobody can do it like we did. The deal to the seal.
I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities of Music. Today we're doing a request. Who is this request by, Tom?
This request is by Matt.
All right, Matt. Thank you for requesting the D.O.C. No one can do it better. One of the quintessential hip-hop rap albums that ever occurred. Tom, what did you think about this? What is this?
Well,
give him a description.
Fun fact. This album came out 4 days after I was born.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I thought, fun little trivia for you. I was 4 days old when this album came out. But, I mean, very, very important album in hip-hop. You know, back in the beginning, the D.O.C. was a member of NWA. So Dr. Dre produced this album, which, I mean, to me, I'm just going to throw this out there. I think Dr. Dre is probably the best hip-hop producer that there
kind of
ever
a
was.
god, right?
I mean, and this was so many years ago, and he was that good back then, and he's still doing it, and I just love the guy.
Right.
I can't get enough of him. But I had a lot of fun reviewing this one because I really flip-flopped on my opinions a lot, and I ended up really liking it overall just because this is a lot of fun to listen to. I, being the very skinny white guy that I am, for some reason, I love old-school gangsta rap and hip-hop. I just do. I prefer it to a lot of new stuff that comes out, and this definitely has that nostalgic kind of throwback sound. It's perfect in that regard. At the same time, there are a few things that bother me about it. I'll go ahead and address those right now. I think that there's a little bit too much of the D.O.C. himself. I think that's one thing that actually I do value about a lot more recent hip-hop that's coming out, is how much people use guest roles, guest artists and featured artists in the songs. It breaks up the flow, I guess, stops it from getting kind of bland.
Right. Hip-hop and rap, you mean when you have, it's just one dimension of vocals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to break that monotony. Even the most talented rapper needs to break up that monotony somehow.
Exactly. And I think that his flow, his wordplay, his lyrics are actually pretty good. But just,
sure.
it gets to a point where I'm kind of like, okay, I can tell now his technique, and he kind of does the same kinds of things over and over again. And it especially makes me realize that on the very last track, when you have other members of NWA coming in, and all of a sudden it's breaking it up so much better and it's so much more engaging. So that's my one big gripe. But really, there are a lot of things I really liked. I love the production, as I said, a lot of cool bass lines. Yeah. You know, not just using bass for the pounding kick drum that a lot of rappers do these days. Actual cool, grooving, funky bass lines. You've got Beautiful But Deadly that incorporates some guitar. Which actually, the D.O.C. introduces that song, and it's really funny. You know, we need to bring some guitar in this. I love all the little talking interludes. It's really funny, like when you're supposed to turn the album over.
Yeah, and I thought that they did a really good job embracing that as a concept. And in fact, you know, typically the back end is supposed to be like B-sides, right? I actually like the back end.
I think the back end was a lot better as well, for that exact reason.
Not that the front end was bad by any means.
But there was a little more diversity. Also, I like the Comm tracks 4 and 10, where he has to go take a piss and then he has to go do something else. I think those tracks kind of break it up. But it also helps with another thing that's going throughout this album, and that's this idea that you just feel like this whole album is the D.O.C. and Dr. Dre having a conversation.
And having fun while they do it.
Exactly. So much of the time you hear the D.O.C. refer to Dr. Dre like he's singing to him, and you can just picture Dre in the booth just kind of nodding his head like they're having a good time. And I really like that aspect of it.
Point.
Other than that, I mean, I like this album. It's a good hip-hop album. I'm sorry I didn't love it as much as a lot of people out there do. For me, it contextually, in the late 80s scene of rap and early 90s, I don't think this quite lives up to, like, Wu-Tang's Enter the Wu-Tang, De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising, NWA Straight Outta Compton, or like Public Enemy's Takes a Nation of Millions, Hold Us Back. I love all those albums. I like this one as well. I don't think it's quite up to the level of those, but it's still really good.
Yep. I have to agree with everything you just said, Tom. I think that I just didn't like it quite as much as Tom did personally, just because I think sometimes it got a little cheesy for me. Now, contextually speaking, that's not even a criticism. So, I mean, I really just think that it's because, you know, right now we have some of the most this wide array of different styles of rap and hip hop that I mean, it really just the problem is my brain is just too saturated with that.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled by that when we're so far out of context.
You know, Kid Cudi and you know, Shabazz Palaces and anything Kanye does, that rich production. Not that he's anywhere near the talented rapper that the D.O.C. is. I'm not saying that because clearly I think I would prefer the D.O.C. when it comes to rapping. But I mean, it's just I feel like sometimes it just gets a little hokey. And there's things that are very endearing about that, and then there's things that are kind of about that. And it's not that it's bad. It's just like it's like the richest cheesecake you've ever put into your mouth. And then when you force yourself to listen to this album 6 or 7 times, you can't come back to it even like 5 or 6 weeks later. I can't do it. It's very tough for me to really want to listen to this. So that's my only caveat. Probably brought my score down from where it originally was a little bit. I'm sitting at a 70 right now.
I'm going 80.
Yeah, and as we say, contextually speaking, probably much better than what we're giving it. Keep in mind that this is just our scale, how we're fitting it in. The score really doesn't matter. So it's all about the commentary. What would you guys think about this album? The D.O.C. and Dr. Dre. I mean, the D.O.C. really didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of serious music after this because he got in that bad car accident. But
came out with an album like 7 years later, but it, you know, by that point there wasn't as much hype.
Plus, it changed his voice a lot from what I've heard, made it raspier, which I think is an interesting end to the story. So interested to hear what your guys' thoughts on that are and just how your experience with the D.O.C. is, and no one can do it better as an album. Leave us a comment at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. Facebook, Twitter, follow us and like us there. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
I love too much to carry, possessed by a demon on a mission. No man alive could refuse a proposition from this fantasy, but to me she was more than a bad